Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order. This is Dr. Jennifer Jones, Board President. First item on the agenda is roll call. Scholar Representative Izzy Owens will start.
Izzy Owens, Scholar Representative, Todd Beamer High School.
Joan Murphy, District 5.
Trudy Davis, Director, District 4.
Lakeisha Phillips, Director, District 3.
Jennifer Jones, Director, District 2.
Eric Gollings, Director, District 1.
Tanya Pfeiffer, Superintendent.
Next is the presentation of colors by the Todd Beamer High School, JROTC. Please rise if you are able.
In pledge of allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Carry. Order.
You may now be seated. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting agenda. At this time, we'll entertain a motion.
I move the Board of Education approve the meeting agenda of January 27, 2026 as submitted.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a required approvals agenda. At this time, we'll entertain a motion.
I move the Board of Education approve the required approval agenda of January 27, 2026 as submitted.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is school welcome, Olympic View K-8. Dr. Pfeiffer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jones. I'm so excited to be here tonight at Olympic View K-8 this evening. So thank you to the staff and students for hosting us. I'm going to invite Principal Dr. Janai Choi up to do our school welcome, highlighting the strengths and opportunities for growth here at OLV. Where is she? There she is right there. Take it away.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for coming to Olympic View today. My name is Janai Choi, and I have the honor of serving an amazing community here at Olympic View. I want to welcome you to our lovely building. First off, wanted to talk about what makes Olympic View so unique. We have a wonderful, wonderful community of families, students, staff that come together to serve about 580 students. We have a transitional kindergarten to 5th grade. We just launched this year, dual language Spanish and Korean. We have a 6th through 8th grade cohort of middle schoolers. We also serve students in the primary and intermediate academic core, and we have about 26 languages spoken. So I wanted to start off by sharing with you how our Scholar Advisory has shaped our school improvement plan this year and what we've really been working on. Last year, at the end of the year, we looked at some data, and this is our student survey data, and looked at the areas where there was an opportunity for growth, wanting to lean into what we can do to increase the engagement in our classrooms. The biggest things we wanted to talk about was how do we get students motivated and how do we get them participating every year? And these are the themes that they shared with us. They shared that they want learning to be fun, engaging, and motivating, that they want teaching very clear. A piece of feedback they gave to us is like, just talk slower sometimes or repeat it a couple times. And so they want multiple ways to understand learning with and from each other. The community aspect is something that's very important to our students, and a strong sense of belonging, kindness, and respect. And so this is our school improvement plan. This year, our families are probably sick of me showing it because we show it at every gathering. But I wanted you to be able to see that we have 4 goals: one in math, one in ELA, a discipline goal, and an attendance goal. And we're really honing in on one of the SIOP strategies of interactions, how are students interacting with each other and really showing what they know. Today, we want to highlight some of the things that we've seen with our math classes, the increase of hands-on experiences to lean into what students have shared, and our social-emotional learning. So when it comes to scholar safety and belonging, this is our most recent data. We saw the greatest increase that we've seen post-COVID in sense of belonging and school safety. And so we really think that this is because of a high focus on social emotional learning, as well as building the identities of our scholars as learners in our school. So their individual identities and how they can be leaders in their learning. Our Scholar Advisory every month comes together, and we've been really working this year. Our theme is defining what respect as a community means, and getting together and making sure that we are coherent as a school and community about what this is and what it looks like and sounds like and why this is so important. Some learning successes we've seen in the classroom are around small group instruction. That was another thing that our scholars shared with us, is that sometimes when they don't understand a concept, it's really helpful for them to come to meet with the teacher and get some of that direct repeated instruction. You'll notice here in almost every classroom, every day, you'll see small groups happening, especially with the manipulatives used as we're focusing on hands-on ways for scholars to interact. And so there's been a huge increase in that. And then when it comes to our tier 2 system, so small groups for students who might need a little bit extra, we have distinct time throughout the day for that. And we've noticed that in this first cycle, 70% of our scholars improved placements in that tier 2 instruction. For ELA and for math, we have about 76 to 87% of students passing in their first cycle. Really, the big focus that our teachers are planning with are those hands-on experiences, and that has also come from our family feedback. So hearing from our community, here's just a couple of things that we do at Olympic View. We have a wonderful Capable Cougar Parade once a month. You're welcome to join us, where scholars are recognized for a character trait as well as academic achievement and improvement, and we do a parade through the school. And really, our families have shared, Family Advisory shares ideas within 3 buckets. So what are our PBIS systems, our social emotional systems, gives us feedback in our instruction, and then how we can continue to improve family engagement. Something that has come out of that is really opportunities, more and more opportunities for families to see what scholars are doing and build that bridge between home and school. And so we also have a family learning day 3 times a year where families come into the building, share a lesson that they can take home and practice with students, have lunch with students, and then go out to recess. And so now for our Scholar Showcase, they're ready. I'm going to read this statement to you because we are so, so proud of our dual language program this year. In partnership with an amazing group of families, you'll see most of them are here. Olympic View K-8 has launched 2 dual language programs in Spanish and Korean, anchored in a clear vision for biliteracy, equity, and long-term sustainability. The school has made measurable progress through community engagement, model selection, curriculum, as well as partnerships. We're really working hard on trying to build a high-quality instruction, and you'll get a glimpse of some scholars sharing today in the form of music. We really just, I invite you to come and see. The scholars are doing such a great job learning a new language. We hope that this provides you an opportunity to see that although there are 2 different languages, we are a joint community, and we're really focused on building and ensuring that we sustain multilingual communities.
Los ojitos dicen pío, 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 cuando tiene hambre, cuando tiene frío. La gallina busca el maíz del trigo, le da la comida y les presta abrigo. Bajo sus alas, acurrucaditos, duermen los pollitos hasta el otro día. Los pollitos dicen pío, 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 cuando tienen hambre, cuando tienen frío.
All right. And they're doing a great job learning the language every day, right? Great job, scholars. You can come join your families here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Choi, and these wonderful multilingual scholars singing in Spanish and Korean. How fantastic was that? Very impressive. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Because of You Awards. Dr. Pfeiffer.
Well, first, before I begin, I'd like to say gracias as well as 감사합니다. Appreciate all of our families coming this evening to watch the young people as they lean into the love and learning of language. So appreciate it very much. All right, because of you, board team, our scholars on the advisory to the superintendent created the Because of You Award. The Because of You Award allows any students in grades 3 through 12 to nominate any staff member in Federal Public Schools to be recognized. This evening, our scholar representative to the board, Izzy Owens, will provide this recognition. So go ahead and go up there and we will come up in front, board.
We would like to call Matt Eastman, teacher at Decatur High School, forward to be recognized. He was nominated by Ashley Walling and Kaihea Tuifua. Ashley shared that Mr. Eastman makes learning easy, engaging, and welcoming by breaking down lessons, answering questions without judgment, and creating a safe space for students to learn by themselves. Kaihea shared that Mr. Eastman genuinely cares about students' education and well-being, brings positive energy into challenging moments, and continues to grow in ways students notice. Because of you, Ashley is inspired to follow in your footsteps and become a teacher students can rely on, and Kaihea feels motivated to take learning seriously while still having fun. We would like to call Megan Rowell, teacher at Lake Grove Elementary School, forward to be recognized. She was nominated by Carter Tysepic. Carter shared that Miss Rowell helps learning feel fun through math, writing, and science, and that she always shows kindness when students need comfort and care. Her support helps students feel safe and happy at school. Because of you, Carter feels smart and happy at school. We would like to call Dante Green, teacher at Decatur High School, forward to be recognized. He was nominated by Jaylee Simmons. Jaylee shared that Mr. Green is a coach, mentor, and motivator who makes a lasting impact on everyone he works with. She shared that his leadership, encouragement, and character helps build students to believe in themselves. Because of you, Jaylee feels more confident in herself. We would like to call Shelly Smith, teacher at the Halla Elementary School, forward to be recognized. She was nominated by Jack Snyder. Jack shared that Mrs. Smith makes learning exciting and supports students even when things feel challenging. Her energy, creativity, and encouragement help students feel confident and excited to learn every day. Because of you, Jack feels confident that he can learn everything in third grade and enjoy the journey along the way. We would like to call Michael Davis, teacher at Sacagawea Middle School, forward to be recognized. He was nominated by Jack Goodwin. Jack shared that Mr. Davis brings energy, honesty, and encouragement to both academics and athletics. He shared that Mr. Davis takes the time to support students and make each one feel valued, including through thoughtful gestures that students remember long after the school year ends. Because of you, Jack has grown socially and academically through your teaching and support.
Next item on the agenda is Schools Can't Do It Alone. Dr. Pfeiffer.
Yes, thank you very much. We're so grateful to have so many community partners that constantly give back to our school district and most importantly, our students. We have two community partners this evening that we would like to both thank and recognize. I'm going to pass it over to Jessica Morgan, our Chief of Communications, to do that recognition.
Good evening, Board President Dr. Jones, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Pfeiffer, and scholar representative to the board. Now more than ever, schools can't do it alone, and we would like to show our appreciation for the contributions the following organizations have made that benefit our scholars in our district. Thank you to the Seattle Seahawks for their generous $16,000 investment in Federal Way Public Schools girls flag football program. This funding will be distributed evenly across our 4 comprehensive high schools and will support the purchase of athletic equipment, transportation, uniforms, and other programs. Your partnership strengthens opportunities for students to participate in athletics, build teamwork and leadership skills, and foster pride through the sport. We are deeply grateful for your continued commitment to expanding access to inclusive athletic programs and supporting student success across our district. Unfortunately, they were not able to join us
They
tonight.
might be preparing for something a little bigger than this event here. So
So next, we would like to thank Toyota of Puyallup for their generous donation of a non-working vehicle valued at approximately $11,000 to the automotive program at Decatur High School. This contribution will serve as a valuable hands-on learning resource for students, allowing them to build technical skills and gain real-world experience in automotive repair and maintenance. Their support helps strengthen career-connected learning opportunities and prepares students for future pathways in automotive and skilled trades fields. We are grateful for the partnership and for investing in the success of Decatur High School students. They also were unable to join us this evening, but we thank them for their support.
Next item on the agenda is good news announcements. Vice President Davis.
Congratulations to our Federal Way Public School educators on achieving National Board Certification in 2025. National Board Certification is widely recognized as the gold standard in teacher certification. Created by teachers for teachers, it is a rigorous, performance-based process that goes beyond state licensure to recognize accomplished educators who demonstrate strong instructional practice, reflective professionalism, and lasting positive impact on student learning. This year's National Board certified teachers met high and rigorous standards set by the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards, helping to advance the quality of teaching and learning for students across our district. Teachers, if you're here today, please come forward to be recognized. Elizabeth Benitez Martinez. She is from Tallahassee, certified in school counseling, early childhood through young adulthood. Monica Cannon. From Federal Way High School, certified in exceptional needs specialist, early childhood through young adulthood. Oh. Whitney Holling. Okay. From the Educational Service Center, certified in exceptional needs specialist, early childhood through young adulthood. Okay, Cole Hendricks from Thomas Jefferson High School. Certified in social studies, history, adolescence, and young adulthood. Michael Liu. From Sacagawea Middle School, certified in mathematics and early adolescence. Your achievement reflects a deep commitment to professionalism, growth, and adds to Federal Way Public Schools' strong tradition of celebrating educators who lead with excellence and impact. Thank you for your dedication to our students and their bright future. We are FWPS proud of all of you.
Next item on the agenda is school board recognition. Dr. Pfeiffer.
All right, everyone. Governor Ferguson proclaimed January as School Board Recognition Month. This marks the 29th year of the annual observance initiated by the National School Boards Association in 1995. As the superintendent of Federal Way Public Schools, I'm proud to acknowledge and to celebrate our board of directors for their essential leadership and service to our district, their commitment to ensuring that every student graduates ready for life beyond high school is exceptional. We are fortunate to work alongside a board that is deeply engaged at both the local and state levels, helping to shape education policy that benefits not only our schools and community, but the wider education landscape. National research points to a clear connection between strong school board leadership and improved student outcomes. As a reminder, Federal Public Schools Board of Directors was chosen as a school board of distinction by the Washington State School Directors Association for the 10th year in a row, being one of 49 out of 295 school boards in Washington State selected for this honor. During School Board Recognition Month, we proudly recognized a board of directors that is deeply committed to every scholar in Washington's most diverse school district. Their leadership reflects a shared responsibility to equity, opportunity, and ensuring all students are supported, valued, and prepared for their future. If all of you would join me in a round of applause recognizing our school board for their countless hours of commitment to our 21,500 students. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is legislative update. Director Phillips.
I do not. I had a whole list that I was supposed to read this afternoon and I didn't, so I apologize. I have no updates. But we are in a short session. Legislators are working. I do know we had a little over, I think, 80 or 90 bills introduced around education, which is kind of a lot. But they are sorting through them. There was a couple that got put up and they actually got dropped the same day because the committee was like, hey, I think that's not anything we need to hear today, which was well taken. I think yesterday was around a cell phone policy bill, and it was quickly withdrawn because they got quite a bit of feedback that districts are doing pretty well in that area, which was nice. So yeah, there is a day on the Hill that is coming up where a lot of our education partners are headed to Olympia on Thursday. Again, it's a short session. We will be done in the second week of March. If there's anything else, I will keep you posted.
I think there would be just a couple I want to just recognize is that we have two House bills on the floor, 2580, increasing local effort assistance, that was sponsored and developed by Representative Reeves, recognizing that there is an equitable funding model happening here in Federal Way Public Schools, as well as House Bill 2562, also sponsored by her. And then Representative Berquist, House Bill 2116, school enrichment funding, including LEA. While that's not sponsored yet or developed by Representative Reeves, it all flows in the same vein. And I just wanted to publicly recognize her for putting forth an effort to try to increase funding related to local effort assistance here in Federal Way. I think that that's an important one just to give a little shout out to. We also have one, Director Phillips, I'm not sure if you saw the House Bill 2160 SEB benefit eligibility changes. And that is really going from a look back period of 2 years to 1 year. And so for us, we'll be testifying in opposition of that bill. It is for 630-hour requirement for SEB. It would have about $1 million impact here in Federal Way. So I just wanted to make you aware of a couple of those because I think that they're important bills. And I just wanted to give a local shout out to Representative Reeves.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the board meeting assessment. 5 times a year, we have a board director assess the board meeting and provide feedback. For this meeting, Vice President Davis will be conducting the assessment. Next item on the agenda is the ends to presentation. Dr. Pfeiffer.
Absolutely. Board team, as you know, our ends reports are presented to the board annually and is one way that we share our progress towards the goals that you have established. This evening, we will provide an update related to ends to a dream academic achievement. Last week, you had the opportunity to review this presentation and ask questions at our work study. And this evening, you will see the presentation once again. I'm going to ask our team to provide you this update on my behalf, and Marla Newton, our Deputy Superintendent, will start us off. Marla?
Good evening, Board President Davis, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Pfeiffer. Tonight, we are presenting our data and next steps on sub N2. And presenting with me tonight is our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Melissa Spencer, and Learning Improvement Officer, David Herrera. So the purpose of tonight's presentation is to provide the interpretation and the evidence of sub N2 reflective of the 2024-2025 school year. The focus of sub N2 is to ensure that each scholar at every grade level will perform at or above the state or district standards in all disciplines. Sub N2 has two dimensions, and as you recall from Conley's 4 factors of college readiness, there are 2 dimensions that directly relate to sub N2, and that is key cognitive strategies or thinking skills and key content knowledge or academic skills. For sub N2, we focus on goals 1 and 4 of our strategic plan, and we will highlight measures of progress that inform those ends. For goal 1, we will be looking at the percent of scholars ready for kindergarten as measured by WCAG's assessment, and the percent of scholars meeting or exceeding grade level standards in English language arts and mathematics by the end of 3rd grade. For goal 4, we look at the percent of scholars meeting grade level standards in core subjects for all grades, and the percent of scholars participating in advanced coursework and earning a passing grade. We measure readiness for kindergarten so that we can provide both high-quality core and interventions early in a scholar's learning. 3rd grade proficiency is a key indicator for future learning. We measure ELA and math proficiency throughout a scholar's learning career to ensure that we provide interventions as needed. And finally, successfully completing dual credit courses supports our scholars in post-secondary completion and their success. Dr. Spencer is going to begin our analysis in support of ends 2 with goal 1, the early years.
We'll start with WCAGs as a metric. WCAGs is an observational assessment that looks at scholar readiness along a developmental continuum. It starts with a family connection meeting during the first 3 days of school. Over the course of the early fall, teachers observe scholars' development towards social, emotional, physical, language, cognitive, literacy, and mathematics readiness for kindergarten. When we look at the percentage of incoming kindergartners who met readiness criteria in 6 out of 6 domains, our kindergarten readiness percentage increased by 1%, and we have seen a 7% increase since the fall of 2022. FWPS offers a variety of early learning programming. While all programs demonstrated growth, our Bright Futures kindergarten program, ECAP programs, and tuition-based preschool increased at accelerated rates and outperformed the district average. We also saw accelerated growth across racial groups with our Asian, Black African American, 2 or more races, and white scholars outperforming the district average. Our female scholars demonstrated readiness at over 50%, and our multilingual, low-income, and male scholars all saw increases in readiness. We have many continuing initiatives, but we also continue to focus on increasing kindergarten readiness. We are doing this through instructional alignment across programs, the addition of a family support specialist and instructional coach, professional development on best practices in early learning, and through collaboration across the early learning, multilingual, and special education departments. Now we'll analyze our data regarding 3rd graders meeting grade level standards as measured by the SBA. We measure 3rd grade achievement through the 4 lenses of mastery of learning standards, growth year over year, consistency, which measures 3rd graders from the previous year to 3rd graders this year, and equity as we disaggregate by racial and programmatic groups. We use 2 assessments to measure 3rd grade achievement: the iReady assessment in reading and math, and the Smarter Balanced assessment, our state ELA and math assessment given at the end of the year. In reading, we saw a year-over-year increase of 1% in scholars on grade level. We also measure accelerated growth through the percent of scholars meeting their stretch growth, or growing more than 1 year in a school year. Here we see that 27% of third graders met their stretch growth in reading, an increase of 3% from the previous year. Math saw even greater gains, with an increase of 5% being on or above grade level compared to the previous year, and 22% of scholars meeting their stretch growth, an increase of 7% from the previous year. OSBI has shifted the way they report on scholar scores. Achievement levels on the state assessment represent a range of performance. The state assessments are not pass-fail, with scholars who do not earn a level 3 or 4 failing to meet grade level standards. To that end, OSBI has defined the levels as follows. 3 of the 4 achievement levels indicate grade level knowledge and skills, with increasing accuracy and complexity. While level 1 indicates achievement that is not yet on grade level, level 2 indicates foundational grade level knowledge and skills, and levels 3 and 4 indicate a student is on track for college level learning without needing remedial classes. For example, in assessing reading and comprehension in the 3rd grade, a lower score indicates that the student was able to identify central ideas in texts of low or moderate complexity and distinguish between literal and non-literal meanings of words and phrases. On the same assessment, a higher score indicates the student could identify explicit evidence or supporting details to support basic inferences in text of moderate to high or unusually high complexity. For ENS2, we will be reporting our achievement in alignment with OSBI designations. In the 24-25 school year, we had 57% of 3rd graders demonstrate at least foundational grade level knowledge in English language arts, an increase of 3%, while we simultaneously saw an increase of 1% on track for college level learning. As a reminder, when scholars opt out of the assessment for any reason, their reported score is a 0. Last year, we saw all racial groups see 50% or more of scholars meeting at least foundational grade level knowledge for 3rd grade. Our Asian, 2 or more races, and white groups saw over 60% of scholars demonstrating at least foundational knowledge. Our female and low-income groups saw over 60% meeting at least foundational skills in 3rd grade, and all groups had over 50% of scholars meet at least foundational skills. Our 3rd grade math scores were similar to our ELA scores, and that in 24-25, 57% of scholars demonstrated at least foundational skills, an increase from the previous year. Math also saw a 3% increase in the percent of scholars on track for college level learning. 5 out of 6 racial groups had over 50% of scholars meet at least foundational grade level knowledge, with Asian and white scholars having over 60% meet that level. Male scholars had the highest performance in math overall and the highest percentage of scholars at the consistent and advanced levels. To support our 3rd graders, we will continue a number of practices, including implementing the science of reading, skill groups for reading and math, and the use of assessment to drive instruction. Additionally, we have launched K-3 assurance teams, implemented a new Tier 2 math curriculum, implemented a universal screener and progress monitoring in ELA, and integrated an explicit focus on high-quality writing instruction. David will now share progress towards Goal 4.
In Goal 4, we measure the percent of scholars meeting grade level standards on the SBA and the percent of scholars participating in advanced coursework, inclusive of AP, IB, Cambridge, and dual credit courses. Our first measure of progress will be the percent of scholars meeting standard on the SBA in grades 3 through 8 and grade 10. As a reminder, 9th graders do not take the SBA. We measure Goal 4 grade level achievement through the 4 lenses of mastery of learning standards: growth over year, year over year, consistency, which measures the same grades year to year, and equity as we disaggregate by racial and programmatic groups. We use 2 assessments to measure achievement: the iReady assessment in reading and math, given to scholars in grades K through 8, and the Smarter Balanced assessment, our state ELA math assessment, given at the end of the year. In reading, we saw a year-over-year increase of 2% in scholars on grade level. The additional graph shows an increase at 5 out of 6 grade levels in students improving their grade level placement over the year. We also measure accelerated growth through the percent of scholars meeting their stretch growth or growing more than 1 year in a school year. Here we see that 27% of scholars met their stretch growth in reading, an increase of 3% from the previous year. We saw the highest percentages of students meeting stretch growth in grades 3 through 5 and 8. In math, we saw a year-over-year increase of 3% in scholars on grade level. The additional graph shows an increase at 5 out of 6 grade levels in students improving their grade level placement over the year, with grades 3 through 6 at the highest increases of students with improved placement as compared to the previous year. And here we see that 20% of scholars met their stretch growth in math, an increase of 4% from the previous year. We saw the highest percentages of students meeting stretch growth in grades 3 through 5 and 8. SBA provides two ways to monitor performance: achievement of grade level learning standards and growth year over year. Achievement is a snapshot of how a scholar performs towards grade level learning standards. For growth, OSPI uses student growth percentiles, or SGPs. This lets us know if scholars are making enough growth to ultimately demonstrate grade level achievement. We will begin by looking at our achievement in ELA and math for grades 3 through 8 and grade 10 overall. In ELA, we saw a 2% increase in scholars demonstrating at least foundational level knowledge, as well as in scholars on track for grade level learning. 6 out of 7 racial groups demonstrated over 50% of scholars meeting foundational grade level knowledge, with over 60% of Asian, 2 or more races, and white scholars demonstrating at least foundational grade level knowledge. When looking at programmatic and gender groups, over 50% of our female and male scholars demonstrated foundational grade level knowledge, while 51% of low-income scholars demonstrated at least foundational grade level knowledge. This year, we're seeing encouraging progress in ELA across Federal Way Public Schools. 23 schools increased the number of scholars earning 3s and 4s on the SBA by at least 3%, with 13 increasing by at least 5%. Now we will shift to our scholars' performance on the math SBA. Our 3rd through 8th and 10th grade scholars saw a 3% increase in both students meeting at least foundational grade level knowledge, as well as being on track for college level learning. 5 out of 7 racial groups at over 40% of scholars demonstrating at least foundational grade level knowledge, with Asian and white scholars demonstrating over 60% meeting at least foundational grade level knowledge. In our gender groups, both female and male scholars met at least foundational grade level knowledge at over 40%, while 42% of low-income scholars demonstrated at least foundational grade level knowledge. This year, we're seeing encouraging progress in math across the district as well. 24 schools increased the number of scholars earning 3s and 4s on the SBA by at least 3%, with 17 increasing by at least 5%. Dr. Spencer will now share growth data as it relates to Goal 4.
So now we'll shift to reviewing student growth using the OSPI definition for student growth percentiles. Student growth percentiles are a number between 1 and 99. In the example in the chart, the scholar made more growth than 72% of scholars in the state. So while the scholar scored at the foundational level of knowledge 2 years in a row, they're demonstrating accelerated growth. And if they were to continue at this rate, they would demonstrate consistent level knowledge next year. The state defines high growth as percentiles 67 through 99. Typical growth as percentiles 34 through 66, and low growth as percentiles 1 through 33. Scholars in the typical and high growth are making adequate and or accelerated growth towards grade level standards. Student growth percentiles are reported in grades 4 through 8 because those are the grades where scholars took the SBA the year prior. Federal Way Public Schools saw 35% of scholars demonstrate high growth on the ELA SBA. This is an increase of 3% over the previous year, and we are tied with Renton for the highest percent of scholars with high growth. Similar to ELA, Federal Way Public Schools had 35% of scholars demonstrate high growth on the math SBA, an increase of 5% from the previous year, and again tied with Renton for the highest percent of scholars making high growth on the SBA. With our focus on an initial implementation of MTSS last year, we saw 10 schools have at least 40% of scholars demonstrating high growth on the ELA SBA, and 8 schools have at least 40% of scholars demonstrating high growth on the math SBA. Star Lake had the highest percentage of students in high growth in both ELA and math. Given our positive trending data, we will continue our clear focus on multi-tiered systems of support with a tight focus on high-quality grade level instruction, with adding tiered levels of support in reading and math as demonstrated by data. We continue our implementation of structured literacy based on the science of reading, and our district support team focused on mathematics instruction. This year, we are also implementing Tier 2 reading and math interventions at the middle and high school levels, implementing the new middle school master schedule, and reviewing the high school master schedule to maximize instructional time. We're focused on high-quality writing instruction, grades K through 12, and co-planning, co-teaching as a support for multilingual scholars and scholars with IEPs. We're also focused on implementing SIOP strategies in grades K through 12 to support our multilingual learners in accessing and learning grade-level content. As we are seeing positive trends in our data, 3 out of our 4 signature strategies have remained the same from the previous year. This year, we're also including implementing co-teaching and co-planning to build more inclusionary models for our scholars. Our key priorities this year remain high-quality, rigorous instruction, multi-tiered academic supports, and multi-tiered social-emotional supports. This year, we have an intentional focus on writing across the content areas. Reading and writing are intimately connected. Writing matters even at the earliest grades when students are learning to read. Pre-writing carries meaningful signals about decoding, spelling, and later reading comprehension. Handwriting and spelling connect speech to print. Like reading, writing must be taught explicitly. Students must be guided on how to construct sentences and paragraphs, and they should have access to models and exemplars. Writing can help students learn content and make sense of it, which is why it is one of our key focus areas this year. Additionally, we are implementing a continuum of academic supports at all levels, K-12, in both reading and math. This slide outlines those academic supports, especially for Tier 2 skill groups in reading and math in grades K through 12. Assurance teams are based on improvement science, where we focus on early intervention, prevention over remediation, use data-driven decision-making, and ensure all students are getting what they need to access high-quality learning and be successful in each stage of learning. We've implemented 3 different assurance teams focused on K-3 academic achievement, 9th graders on track, and graduation assurance. Marla will now share additional data points for Goal 4.
So we'll now shift to advanced coursework. The dual credit metric measures how many high school scholars earn credit for their high school diploma and college at the same time. This is the percent of scholars completing at least one of the following classes: Running Start, CTE dual credit, college in the high school, advanced placement or AP, International Baccalaureate or IB, and Cambridge International. We saw a 1% increase in our scholars completing a dual credit course in the 24-25 school year, and we are the second highest in the roadmap region for those completion. Decatur and Federal Way high schools had the highest percentage of students completing at least one dual credit course, with Decatur at 85% and Federal Way High School at 92%. When we look at the data through the lens of race, 6 of 7 racial groups had over 80% of scholars completing a dual credit course, and 4 out of 7 racial groups increased from the previous year. Female and male scholars completed dual credit courses at the same percentage with both gender groups, multilingual scholars, scholars with disabilities, and low-income scholars increasing the percent of students completing a dual credit course. So we continue to expand our offerings for dual credit coursework through expanding the national academies that we have implemented, increasing AP coursework, and expanding pre-apprenticeship opportunities to include electrical and automotive in addition to construction. And additionally, we are building data dashboards that support auto-enrolling our scholars into dual credit courses who have demonstrated a minimum level of knowledge and skill. Dr. Spencer is now going to close with data on our multilingual learners.
Our final metric this evening is an additional metric, but one we believe is critical in our diverse district: the percent of multilingual scholars exiting multilingual services through demonstrating proficiency of the English language in all domains. We measure multilingual growth in English proficiency using the WIDA assessment. The WIDA screener is given when a scholar enters a Washington State school, and then all active multilingual scholars take the WIDA assessment once per year. The WIDA assesses listening, speaking, reading, and writing in English. Scholars who score a level 4.7 or higher are exited from multilingual services. Federal Way Public Schools saw a higher exit rate for multilingual scholars than Highline and Tukwila, our most similar districts, and saw the 4th highest exit rate in the roadmap region. 5 out of 7 racial groups had 6% or more scholars exit multilingual services, with the highest increases for American Indian Alaska Native, White, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander scholars. Female and low-income scholars had the highest exit rates of 7% and 6% respectively. To support our multilingual scholars in accessing and mastering grade-level content, we are focused on co-teaching, co-planning between general education and multilingual teachers, implementing SIOP strategies in grades K through 12, implementing the multilingual course progressions at secondary, and initiating a language acquisition progress monitoring tool to support scholar growth across the language domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. In summary, we saw increases in ELA and math academic achievement, the percent of scholars making accelerated growth in reading and math, the percent of scholars completing dual credit coursework, and the percent of scholars exiting multilingual services. While we are seeing positive trends in our data, we will continue to refine and expand our early learning programming, continue a deep focus on ELA and math accelerated growth, as well as overall academic achievement, and continue our focus on increasing the percent of scholars completing dual credit coursework, as well as exiting multilingual services. To achieve continued growth, we will maintain and refine our MTSS Tier 1 and 2 systems, develop and implement a MTSS Tier 3 system for reading and math, continue to expand and refine our dual credit offerings, and expand our implementation of SIOP. Thank you for your time and attention this evening as we unpacked our efforts and performance towards ENDS 2. Please let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Board members, are there any questions?
Just a comment. Of course, every time you guys come up and do these presentations, they're so, complete and understandable. So we can understand what's going on. But I look at this, just the whole strategic plan and all the goals that have been set over the past, 8-9 years, that during that time, even with, COVID, kind of setting us back and all of that, we're still seeing some increases. And then I think the stretch goals is something that people may not really get. And sometimes when we award the kids at the end of the year, we talk about their stretch goals and they got this 100% of, and we're like, how do you get 100%, better than you were? But you can when you're doing better within that time. So I just think about, the 13 years that my kids were in the district and how different from the time they were in middle school to when they graduated, how different things were, how better it was. And now it's getting even, it's getting more better because there's better opportunities for kids to explore what else they could be doing that could keep them and make them successful in life. It's not just the grades. Now they're finding that they can do some sort of, a CTE program, but they'll start, being interested in other things, which brings you right back to the writing and the reading and all those things, because you still have to do that. But it's different when you're doing something you enjoy. So we just keep coming up with stuff, and we have, just the fact that we have these partners that just want to keep giving to Federal Way School District, that says a lot. That says that they do see Federal Way. They come from Pierce County and came up to Federal Way to give out something. They're coming from Seattle giving. So they see the progress that's being made here, and they want to support us. So that, that's a great thing. So we really have to just shine a light on that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'd like to just say thanks for the presentation. I know this is our second round with this presentation, so it's kind of nice as directors, we set this goal, you kind of update us. This one is more talking about how we perform as educators and a system. So it sounds like a lot of information, but it's like we do it multiple ways. So this one is around how is the engine functioning. And what I like is that you're continuing to highlight, like, here's where we're at, here's where we're going, here's the strategies. And it's the little things, to your point, Director Davis, that kind of impact over time. So one of the things I just now realized, because we really worked with our high cap and our gifted students for a while. And I remember 6 years ago, there was like, hey, we're going to start changing how we do screeners. And we saw that move. And then I just noticed in this presentation, and it just slipped by, but you said we're going to auto-enroll students into dual credit classes. These are like some of the game-changing decisions that are made that impact scholars' trajectory. So it is nice, and I hope everybody understands we are understanding that this is the snapshot in time. And I appreciate that our superintendent always says, this is not where we want to be, but we're talking about how the engine runs and are we getting better as educators, and kind of pushing it, but not pushing it too hard, which I appreciate. And then I think sometimes people don't understand some of these little things are actually really big in a kid's life, like automatically being pushed into a dual enrollment, like making sure that we're covering cost for tests, making sure that we're offering parents coming in on the weekends to do lessons, kind of like Dr. Choi had mentioned. There's so much that's like happening. It sounds like a lot, but realistically, we're getting to see how the engine runs. So overarchingly, it feels good. And I know I heard it this time. We get one more run. We'll talk about this again. But I do like the trajectory, and we're seeing the pluses. It's plus here, it's plus here, it's plus here. And honestly, you want it to be steady. And I think that's the ticket for me as a school board director. I want to make sure you're leaning forward, but it's nothing radical. And then another thing I noticed was some of the schools were in both sections. So you see that they're doing the work in ELA and math simultaneously, and like making those small adjustments. So my hope is that you see them in ELA and math across the board, and those are your bright spots. And as directors, we know which schools aren't on the list, but you've already talked with us about here's what we're doing at those schools. And we know that the administrators are in those schools doing direct work because we get to see that when we go on our tours. So overarchingly, it's a lot of information. And I hate these long presentations, but I do love what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Does Director Gollings want to go? Or I will, because I have quite a few I want to say. You sure? Okay. Page 9, I don't quite understand the graph. Just like, give me an example of ECAP 49 and 53. What is that signifying? I mean, what's the criteria on that? Do you want me to hold it up so you can see what page?
I got smart and made page numbers on my PowerPoint. So when it says Federal Way Public Schools ECAP, the 49% was the previous year. These are our students who came out of our ECAP programming.
Okay.
And
that makes sense then. I just couldn't figure out what the criteria was.
Yeah,
There's no
it's-
definition here.
it's what program they were in
Okay.
before they came to us in kindergarten.
Makes
Can
sense.
I just add to yours?
Yes.
What was a highlight for, I think, everybody was, it's nice that we have these. Well, we keep investing in these. It was the Bright Futures Kindergarten that we had to kind of work for to get funding. But I like that it's so promising in our programs. All of them are great, but this is pretty cool to see how the Bright Futures Kindergarten is such an impact. And then our superintendent has tried to push and extend more slots so that we can get more kids into there. So if we can continue to increase this, it'll help for kindergarten readiness over time. Anyway.
100%. And I think the other thing, just from a school board and an advocacy standpoint, they are looking at, transitional K reductions in our state budget. Transitional K funds is what funds our Bright Futures K program. And it does provide very promising data. Every learning, early learning opportunity is good for kids, regardless of what that looks like. Our Bright Futures K, though, does have a tendency to outpace some of our other programs. And we continue to expand where the budget, where we can, I guess, fund it, unfortunately.
And so this chart that I'm looking at, is this like a mid-year dipstick? It's not like the end of the year, obviously. So that's why there's not there's a little decrease on all of them. So that's the reason why.
Actually, this is fall data. So it's measuring after the summer. So
Okay.
students graduated from ECAP, say.
Right.
Now they started in one of our kindergarten classrooms. That's when they're collecting the data. So all of this data is collected by November. every
Okay,
year.
so the previous year then was collected when? Fall or at the end of the year? The previous year?
This is fall to fall data.
Fall to fall.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's when we
That's
give the
nice.
Walk Kids assessment, is in the fall.
That's great. And then again, I wanted to comment on how grateful I feel that we are working hard on reading, science reading. And I know Mississippi and Louisiana is really socking it out, and they're using the same program. So I have a lot of hope for us. I mean, they've excelled to the top nationally in their reading So we have great hope. Grades 5, 6, 7, and 8 did not quite do quite as well as the younger grades. And that's because of the exposure to that program. And then on the math here, 6, 7, and 8 in the iReady, I'm wondering, are kids having to show their work, like how they came up with a solution, to draw it out, and or can they?
So they do need to draw it out, but the iReady is a computer-based assessment. So we don't see their work. They do it on scratch paper off to the side, which we encourage them to do. And sometimes kids just answer. But in order to really get to the answer, they do need to be showing their work.
But is that taken into consideration in grading them or
in this assessment? It is not.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And I think the other thing, Director Murphy, to your point, you called out 3 grade levels where we had not had intervention embedded within the school day in any sort of systemic fashion. So this year we implemented our middle school master schedule, and in early data at the mid-year point, just reviewing it with the team. When did I do it? Monday with all of you? We are seeing some really nice upward trends in what we call our level up time, which is our intervention time that is not optional outside of the day, but inside of the school day for every single student. So I'm excited. And that was after 3 months. And that's just like learning it as we're doing it and teachers being trained. So I'm excited to see the outcome at the end of the year, but even more excited to see what it yields next year. So those 3 grade levels are something that we have continued to get after.
I'm going through this. I hope you don't mind, but okay, because I'm finally starting to get it. And so now I want to make sure I really get it. Okay, so then this is on 35. It's not that critical, but I see that the Asians did really well and the whites did really well. And then 2 or more races. I've always wondered, is there a breakout? Are we as a district ever to see what the combinations of 2 or more races, or is it just a checkbox 2 or more?
Every family self-identifies on enrollment related to their race. And we don't have that level. It's any family that identifies as biracial or multiracial, they are allowed to make that designation.
Okay, just curious how that works. And then I have to celebrate that Rainier View is one of the ones that made 8% growth. I was really happy about that.
Yeah, we have several schools that are moving and shaking, but we have some definitely schools that are, I would say, sprinting when others may be skipping. So that's good stuff.
And then I'm excited about the writing across the content. I used to tell my kiddos that writing was essentially like a fork to get information into your brain. You just can't read it. You can't just talk it. The writing really cements it in there. And then I'm excited about PSYOP. I, again, am curious about what resource you're using, and I'd love to look at it. And then I think that's, oops. Let's see. No, I think that's, oh, let's see. Oh, and I was real excited. The sped ed person here? No. I was excited to see the growth with the students with disability and their advanced coursework. I think that's really something to be celebrated. That's an area that I really had my heart went out to, and low income. Also, I see tremendous acceleration. That's awesome. Thank you.
Any other comments, members of the board?
I had one question. I'm just wondering on page 9, the kindergarten readiness. Do we have any ideas why we're seeing some decreases for the Bright Futures Kindergarten and Tuition Preschool? Why their readiness scores have gone down?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's tricky is these are different groups of students. So they're not comparing apples to apples. You know, the one grade, we'd love to see high all the time, but sometimes when you're looking at different groups of students, we don't necessarily know what's happened or what their life experiences are before they come to us, and that can adjust where they start in that kindergarten level. Yeah.
Right, thank you for that presentation. Next item on the agenda is the EP&O levy video. Dr. Pfeiffer.
All right. Well, board team, as you know, Federal Way Public Schools EP&O levy is up for renewal and appears on the February 10th special ballot. Several school districts across our state are also seeking an EP&O renewal from their community of voters. As a reminder, the EP&O levy helps maintain basic education programming as well as day-to-day operations, and it bridges the gap between what the state provides and what's actually needed to operate a school district to provide the students with a comprehensive education. Just for your information, we have completed 22 community presentations since December, as well as added 4 additional open to the public presentations for a total of 26 presentations. I want to thank those of you that joined me, and most spectacularly, Dr. Jones, who partnered with me on nearly all of those. And so just getting the information out, making it available. This, of course, doesn't include the presentations that were being done by our schools to their families as well as to their staff. So add another 70 to that, I'm going to guess. Ballots have been most likely have landed in mailboxes. I know that a few have them in hand, as well as our informational mailer that went out to 60,000 community members, just to ensure that everyone has the information needed to make an informed decision. And I thought, you know, we provided this video to you way back, I believe, in early November. But given the timing, we thought it was appropriate to share the EP&O video one more time. This video has been on our website, accessible to the public since November 18th, I believe, when you went ahead and approved that $250 rate. And that's basically, we're just going to hit go and allow you to listen. And for those that are not aware, if they would like to rewatch it, again, it's right on our Federal Way Public Schools website, our levy page. So I'm going to turn it over to our team and they're going to launch.
This presentation provides an overview of the educational programs and operations levy renewal that Federal Way Public Schools will place on the February 10th, 2026 ballot. The Educational Programs and Operations Levy, or EP&O levy, is a local funding measure that helps support school services beyond what the state provides. This is not a new tax, but a renewal of an existing approved levy which expires in December of 2026. 285 of the 295 school districts in Washington state rely on levies to bridge the gap between what the state provides and what is actually needed to support our schools. The levy would last 4 years and requires a simple majority for approval. The levy keeps local funds in our schools and helps to maintain academic programs, support services, staffing, and daily operations that are either unfunded or not fully funded by the state. Our community has continuously supported the EP&O levy since 1980, and approval of the levy will provide support for Federal Way Public Schools through the year 2030. Now let's look at how local levy dollars fit into our overall budget. There are 4 main sources that support the district's annual budget. First is state funding, which provides about 77% of the overall budget and is based largely on student enrollment. State dollars support teaching and learning, instructional materials, transportation, operating costs, and many of the staff who work directly with students and those who also support district-wide operations. Federal funding accounts for about 8% of the budget. It supports programs that provide additional support for students, including academic assistance, school meals, family engagement, and services for special education and multilingual learners. Other local sources make up about 5% of the budget. These include our Early Childhood Education and Assistance Program, also known as ECAP, which serves our youngest learners, as well as capacity for grants and growth-related contingencies. And the remaining 10% of our budget comes from the Educational Programs and Operations, or EP&O levy, funded by local taxpayers. Local levy dollars have an important impact on students. They support the 5 goals of our strategic plan, help maintain educational quality, support diverse learning needs, provide enrichment opportunities, and ensure safe, welcoming learning environments. Let's take a look at some examples of what this means in Federal Way. The levy helps fund academic and extracurricular programs and opportunities, including advanced placement, international baccalaureate, and Cambridge classes. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics classes, programs, and opportunities, career and technical education programs, and college and career readiness pathways, as well as up-to-date curriculum and professional development that support classroom learning. It also funds classes such as art, music, and theater, class field trips, and extracurricular clubs and activities like pep band, marching band, and theater productions. And the levy funds 100% of all our athletic programs, including high school and middle school sports, 6th grade flag football, unified sports, and no-cut intramural basketball, soccer, and volleyball teams. The renewal levy helps fund essential staff, from those who support learning in classrooms like teachers, paraeducators, and guest staff, to those supporting students with special needs like our therapists, speech-language pathologists, and audiologists, to those who care for student well-being, including nurses, counselors, mental health professionals, and safety and security staff. The levy also supports daily operational needs such as transportation, nutrition services, utilities, and facility maintenance. And more specifically in Federal Way, levy funding supports college and career specialists at each of our high schools who support activities and experiences such as career fairs, college application, and financial aid assistance. In addition to the 12 technology staff funded by the state, local levy funding supports 9 additional staff who help maintain digital infrastructure, manage student information systems, ensure data security, and oversee day-to-day technology operations for our more than 21,500 students. The state funds 4 safety and security staff. Local levy funding supports an additional 15 security staff who keep schools safe and secure. The levy funds all middle and high school competitive sports programs, 6th grade flag football, unified sports at high schools, and our no-cut intramural basketball, soccer, and volleyball teams. It also funds coaching staff and supervision, operations of Memorial Field, and transportation for competitions. Now that we've explored the levy and examples of programs, staff, and services supported by the local levy, let's look at the proposed tax rate and estimated cost to local taxpayers. This chart shows the total school district tax rate over time and how different voter-approved measures contribute to that total. Looking back at rates from 2015 to 2018, before the McCleary lawsuit decision, were above $6 per $1,000 of assessed value. Following that, rates dropped and have remained in the mid-$3 range, with small year-to-year fluctuations. Looking ahead, you'll see projections show an increase starting in 2027 to help meet ongoing school funding needs. Even with this adjustment, rates continue in the mid-$3 range. Here you can see the dollar amounts for the 4-year levy that voters will be asked to approve along with the corresponding estimated tax rates. It's important to know that voters are being asked to approve a fixed dollar amount, highlighted in the yellow box, rather than a tax rate. For example, the district would collect $71.4 million in 2027, based on an estimated rate of $2.50 per $1,000 of assessed value. This illustrates how the fixed levy amount relates to the estimated tax rate. The total amount collected will not exceed what voters approve, even if assessed home values increase. When home values increase, the estimated tax rate adjusts downward, so the district collects only the amount authorized by voters. Now that we've walked through the levy amounts and the estimated tax rates, let's take a moment to review a few key points to keep in mind about the levy. The 2026 EP&O levy is a renewal, not a new tax, and continues local funding through 2030 for the programs and people that support our students every day. It also helps fund staff, from teachers, paraeducators, and guest staff, to counselors and mental health professionals, as well as safety and security staff, custodians, and maintenance staff. It provides funding for academic and extracurricular activities such as STEM, college and career programs, art, music, theater, and athletics. And it fills the gap in funding from the state for daily operation costs like transportation, nutrition services, utilities, and facility maintenance. Now that we've reviewed the important role that our EP&O levy plays in supporting day-to-day educational services, here's what to expect as we move toward the upcoming election. If you're a registered voter living within Federal Way Public Schools boundaries, you'll receive your ballot in the mail around mid-January. If you still need to register, you can do so online at vote.wa.gov or in person at a county office. Once you've filled out your ballot, return it through the mail or drop it in an official ballot drop box. Just be sure it's submitted before the 8 p.m. deadline on February 10th, 2026. And exemption from taxes may be available to certain homeowners. To determine if you qualify, call the King County Assessor at 206-296-7300. Thank you for watching this presentation. For accurate and up-to-date information and frequently asked questions about the levy, visit the Federal Way Public Schools Levy 2026 webpage. If you have additional questions, please email levy@fwps.org. And please remember to return your ballots before the due date of February 10, 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that updated information on the EP&O levy. Everyone remember, watch for your ballot in the mail. Next on the agenda is school reports. We have Izzy reporting.
Good evening, everyone. Across our district, schools have been thriving as we wrap up our first semester. At Sequoia Middle School, teachers have been consistently reinforcing school-wide expectations and classroom routines, which has helped maintain a calm and focused learning environment. Students are actively participating in academic work, including creative projects such as poster making and collaborative activities. School days have been running smoothly with minimal disruptions. At Taft-Holly, students and staff have returned from break and quickly gotten back to the rhythm of learning. Students are engaged in curriculum-based writing and research projects, including work focused on historical topics. Teachers are supporting students through structured lessons and clear expectations as they balance academic learning with planning for upcoming events and projects. At Illahee Middle School, students transitioned back from winter break successfully. Teachers noted that while students were eager to return, routines were reestablished effectively, allowing learning to resume at a steady pace. Overall, the school has seen positive return to academic focus and classroom engagement. At Evergreen Middle School, students have settled back into school routines, and teachers are preparing for upcoming assemblies and spirit events. Leadership teams are actively planning activities to build school culture as students move toward the end of the semester. At Thomas Jefferson High School, students are approaching important academic deadlines as the semester concludes. The school has hosted athletic events, including basketball and wrestling, and advisory periods have been used to support students with planning for the next school year. The school has also held community and cultural events that celebrate student involvement and school pride. A key celebration across the district has been the strong student engagement in both academics and school activities. Schools successfully hosted assemblies, athletic events, and advisory programs that help build community and maintain a positive school climate through the semester. Schools in the district are looking forward to continue academic growth, upcoming assemblies and spirit weeks, and further opportunities for student leadership and engagement as they move into the second semester. Teachers across the district provide academic support through structured lessons, consistent routines, advisory periods, and in-class assistance. Teachers could introduce more student-led learning groups where students work in small teams to explain concepts to each other. I find that my teachers do a really good job at leading small groups, but it feels more like mini lectures. And me and my peers work best when we're actually teaching each other. And I think a great example of this is in my AP Lit class. We are each choosing a song and presenting it to the class, but we're not only presenting it, we're doing a lesson on our song that we choose and doing a rhetorical analysis on it. And at the end of the week, we're going to write an essay for the song we choose. And I think this is a really great way to work together to understand something that our peers teach us while also making preparing for the AP Lit test more creative and engaging. This approach encourages collaboration, builds confidence, and helps students deepen their understanding by teaching their peers.
Thank you, Izzy. Very impressive. Next item on the agenda is superintendent comments. Dr. Pfeiffer.
Yes, thank you very much. I had a great visit today with Director Phillips to Twin Lakes Elementary. We visited several classrooms where we had the opportunity to see just a talented group of teachers and staff teaching and our young people learning. They were engaged in phonics, letter sound recognition, and creating words with those letters and sounds. They were engaged in writing, just like we talked about narrative text. We saw some students setting goals related to how they performed on a previous day's exit ticket, and then the teachers conferring around those goals. It was an absolutely incredible visit. And many of you always see, I always reference one of our youngest learners. His name is Bruce. You see him often on the presentations. Today, in the hallway, as we were walking from classroom to classroom, I hear in a very soft but excited voice, Dr. Pfeiffer. And I turn around and there's little Mr. Bruce. Just running at me, telling me he missed me. He's been looking forward to seeing me. Asked him all about his learning and as if he still was dreaming of being a police officer. And the answer to, if you are wondering, is emphatically yes. So that was a bucket filler to me. So I very much enjoyed that visit. This is the last week of our National Mentoring Month, and as it comes to a close, I want to just give a shout out to all the mentors who show up for our young people, sharing their time, wisdom, and steady support as they navigate adolescence or making big life choices like what is their next step going to be after high school. So just thank you to our mentors. We couldn't do it without you. Last week, while we were doing our while we were doing our public presentation on our EP&O levy, we had a financial aid workshop for FAFSA that had an incredible turnout. We had about 117 attendees who joined our workshop. And a special shout out to Central Washington University. They hosted an admissions and information table, and on site they accepted 9 of our students. And I'd also like to thank the Washington State Opportunity Scholarship for supporting our families and students as they navigate the scholarship application process. And that's all happening. We're really, really trying to bolster accessibility and build understanding both with families and students so they know all the options that they have. Kinders to college visits, they start in February. I would encourage you, if your calendar allows, to jump in on one of those tours because I know Highline, as always, supports that. But that's just a really fun-filled day for our young people as they dream big, even at 5 years old. Coming up is our high school planning nights. They're happening February 11th through the 18th, where we have our 8th graders coming and visiting their high schools, getting to see and explore everything that a high school has to offer. Our Family Academy as well is happening on Thursday the 19th from 6 to 7:30 at our brand new Illahee Middle School. They're going to attend workshops about supporting their child during the summer and then visiting community-based resource fairs and all the options. Just a couple of reminders, kindergarten registration opened on January 20th. So if individuals in our community have incoming kinders, they can register now. And our first semester ends, as Izzy said, on January 29th. Report cards will be coming home right around February 6th for elementary and February 13th for our secondary schools. We have no school this Friday because it's a floating report card day. So teachers get an opportunity to make sure their grades are present online. And then just lastly, remember to vote February 10th, EP&O levy special election. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pfeiffer. Next item on the agenda is school board comments, beginning with Director Gollings.
Well, I want to thank the school here. It was really great to hear a song from the multilingual or the dual language students. My children did dual language, and so that brought back some memories. I also wanted to share out, I had a great visit together with the superintendent and Director Davis to the Sacagawea Middle School. We got to see some great classroom teaching going on. Students were learning about the phases of the moon, and students in math were doing math work that was geared towards their personal level in math. So that was great to see. And we even got to go into one classroom that was talking about the state's responsibility to fund education. So that was really, really neat to see. So altogether, a great trip to Sacagawea.
Thank you. Director Phillips.
I think Dr. Pfeiffer stole mine already. We did get to go to Twin Lakes today, which was really nice. We went in, right after drop off. So it can be a little bit of a busy time, but it was wonderful to see every classroom students were engaged. I didn't see a classroom that wasn't locked into learning. And it's an older building, but you walk in those classrooms and they were gorgeous. I was like, man, this is a really nice classroom. You can tell that the educators really just love their job and being there. I mean, they had aromatherapy and low lights and some really excellent instructional practices going on. And all of them were, in sync. Everybody's doing their ELA work. And of course, I got to see the ECAP and little people enjoying their new playground, which was really nice to see. So, thanks for the visit.
Thank you. Vice President Davis.
We don't have a lot to say. Most everything I was thinking about has been said. Of course, just watching those little people, little young ones, singing in 2 different languages. I'm just glad that we can spare them the things that we're having to deal with in the real world, and that the teachers are doing the best that they can. So I appreciate that. They're keeping them company while us adults have to try to figure out what's next going on in the world. So, I always say I wish I could just wrap them up in bubble wrap and protect them, but we can't. But I do appreciate the way that we keep them safe in the schools, and the teachers are attentive, and we have our safety officers. So that's been on my mind, worrying about what's going to happen with our kids. And so I think we're doing a great job. The district is doing a great job with our young people. And I'm sure, upwards of the high school level, they do know what's going on in the world. So I'm glad we have some therapists and things like that in the school, and other people for them to talk to. And we know that our safety officers are kind of like counselors all the time as well. So, we just have to keep watch for them. And I think Federal Way District is doing a good job of that.
Thank you. Director Murphy.
I want to encourage everyone to go on, I believe it's channel 21, that the city repeats the events that occur. And the Martin Luther King celebration was amazing. The dancers were phenomenal. I believe it was an Asian group that danced. Their synchronization was incredible. They had Irish dancers, and my mind's kind of going blank. Pardon? Oh yeah, those Nigerian folks, bless their hearts. Yeah, they were pretty cute, and they were very proud of their flag. What was really powerful was there was a pastor there whose wife was a pastor at the church in South Carolina, where what's his name? I don't even want to say his name. Went in, sat down with them, prayed, listened to him pray, and then shot and killed him. It was a very powerful talk that he gave, and the focus of it was on forgiveness and how hard that is for us all. And he just knew that he couldn't move on in life and if he didn't forgive. I likewise have had a loss in my family, and that was something our family had to come to terms with. We had a choice of death penalty or not. And I encourage people to look at his at that program. And then on a lighter side, I saw they were talking about Native American sayings And my very favorite one is attributed to a native tribe. And it was tell me and I hear, show me and I see, engage me, involve me, and I understand. And I know that's been attributed to the Chinese too, but that's my very favorite. That was my motto when I taught. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to also thank Dr. Choi and her welcome to Olympic View K-8. I'm very happy that they have the Bright Futures Kindergarten here. We saw the impact of those programs on the young people, youngest scholars, and it's important to keep that available for families. Very impressed with the dual language Spanish and Korean programs that we have here. And when they learn languages at a young age, that's when they can really master the sounds and the accents, and they're going to be just benefiting from that for the rest of their lives. The mention of the scholar advisory and how the young scholars in the schools are contributing to the school improvement plan, very impressive. And the emphasis on math, ELA, discipline, and attendance. Attendance is still an issue, post-COVID, and I'm glad that people are continuing to focus on that because young people have to be in school so that they can learn. And emphasis, of course, on small groups. We've been talking about the importance of that, and the hands-on activities in the math curriculum. That's so effective for young people to be able to visualize and work with those math concepts, with those hands-on manipulables that they have. Capable Cougars events, very nice to have those assemblies and events to celebrate the young people. And I like the way the school is keeping the families engaged in the classroom, having the families come to the schools and engage with their young people and be connecting with the families in the community that way. It's so important because the schools are the backbone of our communities, and we need to remember that and make sure that the families know that the schools are the place they can come and be welcomed and accepted in our educational system. So that's the last comment. Oh, by the way, remember to vote on the AP&O levy. We have some public comments, and I would like to read the statement. Federal Way Public Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of involving members of the public in its meetings. Per the Open Public Meetings Act, OPMA, public comment should enhance rather than hinder the effective transaction of the district's business. We respect your perspectives and value your civil input and suggestions. The board will listen to public comment, but we don't respond to public comment. However, depending on the nature of your topic or question, the superintendent may ask district administrative staff to follow up. Please keep your comments brief, concise, respectful, and no longer than 3 minutes. No verbal complaints or charges against any district employee or individual director will be allowed during public comment. Thank you in advance for your comments. First comment is Mr. Field.
I think by now, most of you will recognize me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I assume you all got the proposal, and Dr. Jones and I have already talked about that. This is a subject that is very dear to me. If any of you at any time want to talk more about the content, the larger vision, and the direction that this could go, that I see it going, by all means, please get a hold of me. Okay, I really want to talk to somebody about this. All right, I'd make 2 points about the proposal. One is that was not intended to suggest an ongoing coursework. Okay, it's just a probe to see how the contents and context might land with those that would be affected by it. And the second thing just totally escapes me. That happens these days sometimes. So anyway, thank you once again. And if you want to talk about that or have suggestions on who I might talk to keep this moving, I'm I'm working on a master's in persistence and a doctorate in obstinance. So I'm not giving up. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. The second comment is Mr. Bollock Bigler.
Good evening, Board President Dr. Jones, members of the board, and Dr. Pfeiffer. My name is Mike Bollock-Ziegler. My son is a first grader here at Olympic View, and I have a future kindergartner as well. First, I wanted to recognize and thank Principal Choi and the staff here at Olympic View for their leadership and work earlier this year to make a very chaotic and unsafe intersection at the school parking lot driveway and city much safer. They lug about a dozen giant traffic cones from the school and into the street and back each day, and their presence in the street directing traffic really makes a difference to keep our kids safe, and I appreciate them. I also want to talk about a collision near Taft at Sahali last week, where I heard two students were struck by a car on their way to school at the intersection next to the post office on Southwest Campus Drive. I care a lot about safe routes to school, and so I requested the video and incident documents from the city, and it's a heartbreaking video. It fills you up with every emotion as a parent and is one of my worst case scenarios. The students did everything like they should, probably like they do every day going to school. They enter the crosswalk with the walk sign, make it about 3/4 of the way across, then a car making a left turn runs directly into them, throwing them onto the hood of a car. I didn't see brake lights from the car until at least a second after the impact when they tumbled to the pavement. Immediately, you see about a half dozen other kids who are all around in the area run over to help without hesitation, which was heartening and also broke my heart that they needed to be first responders. I got emotional watching it, and I think the district should also review it to really understand what the kids went through. Clearly, it was a result of a driver not paying any attention, but this incident at that intersection was not an anomaly. 7 people, including those students, have been struck in that same intersection since 2017, all aged 20 or younger. One incident last year looks like it was also during arrival time, and most of the others during the evening rush hour. When you look at that section of Southwest Campus Drive between 21st Avenue South on the west side of the school, all the way to 10th Avenue Southwest on the east side, 15 total people have been struck by a car in that same period. I walk and ride my bike in that area, and it does not feel like a safe place to be if you're walking or rolling. These repeated incidents at a highly utilized intersection by students are why I'm here to ask and encourage the district staff and parents to contact the city, urging them to make changes. It's clearly an unsafe intersection and something needs to change. And I know change is possible because of the work the district did with the city to improve the Pack Highway crossing at Federal High School. Based on the incident report, it sounds like the students' injuries were minor, and I hope they are okay. But the trauma of what happened to them and others who witnessed it will undoubtedly be with them for a while. A sense of safety walking to school has been shattered for those students and parents. This and even less severe incidents really are another form of violence that our students are facing. And this type of issue should be resourced and prioritized as such. All of our kids deserve to make it to school and back home safe, including the spaces.
Thank you for your comment. Next comment is Ms. Rogers.
Good evening, board members. My name is Trinice Rogers, and I'm here as a former parent. So I've had all 5 children attend this school and for many years. I've been part of this community for many years and has been known as a parent to show up. As recently as this year, I was called to this school by school leadership to support a student in need. I share that because I'm here out of responsibility and care for this community and not conflict. I'm speaking tonight because serious procedural failures by this district has harmed my son and remain unresolved despite repeated attempts to address this internally. An outside investigator completed findings related to my son's case May of last year. I was not notified and did not receive the findings. Nearly a year passed before I was able to obtain any documentation. When I appeared in person at the district offices seeking the findings, I was told that no one in the district, no one, not even the HR leadership, had a copy, and that only the general counsel possessed one. The lack of internal access is highly unusual and raises serious concerns about internal controls and record management. I also met directly with the HR director and the general counsel, during which I was assured that I would receive a certified copy of the findings. To date, I have not received any such certification mailing. When I eventually received documents, I was provided conflicting versions of the findings, both bearing the same date, but with different address information. One documentation was associated with a header reading Federal Public School versus Keith Rogers. My son was not in litigation with the district, and that designation raises serious concerns about how his records were classified and handled, including whether they were maintained within the appropriate system and safeguards. Because of the district's delay and process failures, my son, who was already awaiting college, was effectively denied the meaningful right to appeal. The process exists on paper, but not in practice. I raised these concerns directly with HR and district administrator prior to coming here tonight. When I later raised them in writing, I was informed that the district would no longer communicate with me because I filed a tort claim. Regardless of the legal posture, parents retain the right to accurate records, transparency, and basic communication. I also want to note that my daughter's civil rights case that this very board reviewed and upheld was later overturned by OSPI. In a result, the Federal Public School has currently entered a voluntary resolution agreement and ongoing monitoring by the OSPI. To my knowledge, this oversight content has not been formally presented to the board, despite its direct relevance to governance responsibilities and compliance obligations. I want to be clear, I'm not here to speculate about intent. However, no documentation has been provided that would allow me or this board to independently verify findings were generated, transmitted, and how certain statements were violated and relied upon. Board members, I am not asking you to litigate tonight. I'm asking you to exercise oversight to ensure that student records are accurate, that findings are issued and delivered timely, that statements are verified before being relied upon, and that appeal rights are not lost due to administrative failure. To that comment earlier about bubble wrap, I share that wish. I too would wrap my children in bubble wrap if I could, but when the world hurts them, our responsibilities is to ensure our systems respond with integrity, not delay or confusion. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next item on the agenda is the board meeting assessment.
So we have this assessment of ourselves a few times a year. And today is my turn. So the main thing is that we need to come to the meeting prepared. That means that we need to have already read the materials, because they are given to us prior to the meetings, about 3 or 4 days prior to the meetings. So we have plenty of time to see the material. If we have questions, we can call the superintendent and ask questions even before we hear a presentation. We also sometimes forget we have to ensure that our work remains at policy governance level and is aligned with the board policies and does not fall into the day-to-day operations of the organization. Sometimes that's hard when you want something to happen, and so you feel like you want to go to the desk and tell someone how to do their job, but that's not our job. So sometimes we have to remind ourselves of those kind of things. But other than that, I think that as a board, we follow our policies and we are abiding by them. So I think we're doing okay. We'll see what happens in a couple of months.
Thank you, Vice President Davis. And with that, we are adjourned.